Renton, Washington. Ingrid Lyne was a vibrant and cheerful woman. She was born in August 1975 in Arizona. In her youth, Ingrid studied in Tucson and graduated from Canyon del Oro High School. In 1993, she began pursuing her dream of becoming a nurse by enrolling in the University of Arizona's College of Medicine. In 1997, she earned her Bachelor of Science degree and nursing diploma. After graduation, Ingrid decided to move to Seattle, Washington, to find work and gain practical experience. This happened in 2000. It was here that her medical career began, which lasted for 13 years. She got a job at the Seattle Medical Center, which had just opened and was actively recruiting staff. During this period, Ingrid married Philip Lyne, whom she met at work. They quickly found common ground and began building a relationship. 3 daughters were born in the marriage: Noelle, Brooke, and Reese. However, the couple's relationship gradually deteriorated, with problems of mutual understanding and disagreements arising. In 2014, Ingrid filed for divorce, feeling that she wasn't receiving the understanding and support she needed from her husband. She believed there was no need to maintain the marriage solely for the children's sake, thinking it was more important for them to see happy parents, even if living separately. After the divorce, Ingrid and her daughters moved to the nearby small town of Renton, Washington, about a 30-minute drive from Seattle. Although she didn't yet realize the difficulties she would face as a single mother, Ingrid was determined to overcome all challenges for her children's future. She had a good job, beloved children, and plenty of enthusiasm. At the time of the events described in 2016, Ingrid was 40 years old, and her daughters were 12, 10, and 7 years old, respectively. The girls maintained contact with both parents and sometimes stayed with their father. However, Ingrid still harbored resentment towards her ex-husband, which occasionally provoked minor conflicts between them. She reproached him for the lack of support she desperately needed during their marriage, support she had longed for, but Philip couldn't provide. Ingrid still hoped to build her personal life. In search of true love, she registered on a dating site. There, she met a pleasant man to talk to. During their conversations, feelings sparked between them. Her companion gave her a sense of calm and warmth, helping her forget about the difficult moments of everyday life she faced. Ingrid already believed that happiness was within reach, and it seemed that a new chapter was beginning in the life of the entire family. Unfortunately, she had no idea that this was not a love story, but a real horror movie. On April 8, 2016, Ingrid finally decided to meet her pen pal. They arranged a date so the single mother thoroughly prepared for the meeting and even drove her daughters to their former husband's place. Ingrid shared the joyful news about her progress in her personal life with Philip, and he wished her luck. She planned to pick up the children only the next day, after meeting her new love interest. The first date was supposed to take place at a Seattle Mariners baseball game, a big event for all fans of the sport. After that, the couple planned to go to a bar. On Saturday, April 9, 2016, Philip Lyne arrived at his ex-wife Ingrid Lyne's home in suburban Renton, Washington, to return their 3 daughters after spending time with him. When Philip pulled up to the house around 10 a.m., he immediately noticed the absence of Ingrid's silver 2015 Toyota Highlander. The car usually stood in the driveway, but this time it was nowhere to be seen. Philip knew Ingrid hadn't planned to go anywhere, as she was eagerly awaiting the return of her daughters. He tried to contact her by phone, but Ingrid didn't answer his calls. Concerned about the situation, Philip decided to contact Ingrid's mother, Jorga Bass. Jorga had a spare key to her daughter's house, so she quickly arrived at the scene. Together, they entered the house, hoping to find an explanation for Ingrid's strange absence. Inside the house, they found Ingrid's purse, her mobile phone, and other personal belongings, including her driver's license. This intensified their concern, as it was obvious that Ingrid couldn't have gone somewhere without these important items. Jorga and Philip knew that Ingrid would never leave her children without warning. Finding no trace of Ingrid in the house, Jorga decided to contact the police. She called 911 and reported her daughter's disappearance. In her conversation with the dispatcher, Jorga emphasized that Ingrid was a responsible mother of 3 children, and her sudden disappearance was completely out of character for her. In search of information, Jorga and Philip contacted Ingrid's friends and neighbors. One of her friends shared an important detail. The night before, Ingrid had sent her a message saying she was going on a date with a man named John. Jorga, who shared a phone plan with her daughter, decided to check Ingrid's call history. She noticed a number with a Montana area code that appeared frequently in the list. Ingrid's sister helped search for this number online, and they discovered it belonged to a certain John Robert Charlton. Without wasting time, Jorga sent a message to this number, hoping to get information about her daughter's whereabouts. The response came quickly. "My name is John. I thought she was with the kids today." Jorga continued the conversation, explaining the situation and mentioning that she had already contacted the police. John responded in more detail. 911, what's going on? We went to the Mariners game last night, but we didn't stay together because she has her kids today. Not sure what she has told you about me and our relationship. Jorga, growing increasingly anxious, asked John to contact the police, as he might have been the last person to see Ingrid. After this, John stopped responding to Jorga's messages. She sent several more texts, pleading for help and information, but received no response. Jorga's last message was particularly emotional. "Please, John, did Ingrid say anything about someone coming to see her after you separated last night? We can't find her or her car. As I said, her phone, Idaho, and purse are at home, but she and her car are gone without a trace. Any help would be appreciated. We are desperate. She would never just go off and leave her family." On the same day, April 9th, a shocking discovery was made. A Seattle resident named Mike Novascio returned home after being away for several days. He lived near the intersection of 21st Avenue and East Pine Street. Novascio began moving the trash bins that had been left at the curb during his absence. Trash collection was supposed to have taken place on April 7th. When Novascio tried to move the recycling bin, he noticed it was unusually heavy. Deciding to check the contents, he dumped it onto the lawn in front of his house. What he saw shocked him. Among the trash were 3 semi-transparent plastic bags, one of which clearly contained a human foot. Novascio immediately called the police. The officers and medical examiners who arrived at the scene carefully opened the bags. Inside, they found a human head, an arm with a hand, a lower leg, and a foot. The remains showed no signs of decomposition, which allowed for quick identification as belonging to Ingrid Lyne, whose disappearance had been reported several hours earlier. The police immediately began an investigation. They searched Ingrid's house and discovered several important clues. In the bathroom next to the bathtub, a 15-inch pruning saw was found. Investigators also discovered a nearly empty box of plastic garbage bags identical to those in which Ingrid's body parts were found. Additionally, samples of suspected blood were collected. A detailed examination of the bathroom revealed traces of human flesh and blood. Investigators even dismantled the plumbing under the bathtub and found additional traces of blood and tissue there. All these findings indicated that the murder and dismemberment of the body had occurred directly in the victim's home. In the following days, additional remains of Ingrid were found. Some body parts were discovered in a cooler on 20th Avenue between East Union and Marion Street in Seattle, as well as at a recycling plant on South Hanford Street. However, not all parts of Ingrid's body were found. The police also discovered tickets for the Seattle Mariners game, which took place on April 8th at 7:10 p.m. on Ingrid's computer. This confirmed the information that Ingrid and John had indeed attended the baseball game that evening. On April 11, 2016, the police arrested John Charlton. During questioning, he confirmed that he had known Ingrid for about a month and that they had met through an online dating site. Charlton said he often stayed at her house, but on the night of April 8th, 9, he didn't stay because Ingrid's children were expected to return the next morning. Charlton described the events of the evening of April 8th. He and Ingrid attended the Mariners game, then went to a bar, after which they returned to Ingrid's house in Renton in her car. However, he claimed he was very drunk and couldn't remember many details of that evening. Charlton assumed he and Ingrid might have had intimate contact and noted that she was acting weird, but couldn't provide more detailed information. When asked what he did afterwards if he didn't stay in Renton, Charlton replied that he wasn't sure but assumed he slept on the sidewalk in downtown Seattle, as that's where he woke up the next morning. He suggested that Ingrid probably drove him to downtown Seattle. Charlton also stated that he didn't think Ingrid planned to meet anyone else after their date, and that he had no idea what happened to her after she left him in Seattle. During the interrogation, Charlton told the police that he had problems with alcohol, that he was currently homeless, and that he was not a normal person. The police examined Charlton for injuries and photographed his body. He was found to have abrasions on his forehead and left hand, scratches on his chest, as well as injuries to his lip and chin. Charlton's ex-girlfriend told police that she saw him on April 9th, and he had a swollen and injured lip. He told her he had been robbed and his money was taken, but she noticed that he still had his wallet. The police also found Ingrid's car in downtown Seattle. John Charlton was charged with first-degree premeditated murder and theft of Ingrid's car. Despite the case against Charlton being largely built on circumstantial evidence, he initially did not plead guilty. The prosecutor in the case, Dan Satterberg, acknowledged that not all aspects of the case could be explained. "We may never understand why she was killed, but the police and prosecutors working on this case have done a tremendous job gathering compelling evidence against the person we believe is responsible for her death." Defense attorneys initially argued that there was no forensic evidence linking any person to Ingrid's murder, let alone their client. They asked the public not to jump to conclusions during this tragedy. According to the case materials, the prosecution claimed that Charlton killed Ingrid in her home by strangulation, then dismembered her body in the bathtub using a pruning saw. After that, he packed the body parts into plastic bags and, using Ingrid's car, distributed them to various trash bins in Seattle. The forensic examination determined that Ingrid died as a result of violent actions. A toxicology report showed the presence of alcohol in the victim's blood at a level slightly above normal, indicating mild intoxication. No prohibited substances were found in her blood. The investigation also revealed disturbing facts from John Charlton's past. He had a long criminal history, including convictions in 6 different states. Among his offenses were aggravated robbery, grand theft, car theft, 4th-degree assault, and 3rd-degree theft. Additionally, he had been arrested for breaking and entering. Particularly troubling was an incident involving Charlton's parents. In 2006, Ray and Joanne Charlton went to court for a temporary protection order against their son. They claimed they feared for their safety due to his drunken antics. Charlton told them that life was putting too much pressure on him, and he felt he was becoming mentally unstable. According to court documents on March 2, 2006, Charlton, while intoxicated, tried to provoke a conflict with his parents at their home in Thurston County, Washington. He behaved physically threatening and verbally aggressive towards them for several hours. At one point, Ray claimed that Charlton took the movie Hannibal, about a serial killer, off the shelf and placed it in front of his mother, telling her she should watch it and be careful. The documents also noted that Charlton's parents believed he abused drugs. They claimed that Charlton is known to hold grudges for years and express his displeasure while under the influence of alcohol or drugs. These expressions of displeasure can be very frightening and cause fear of violence. Later, the petition for a protection order was dismissed at the request of Charlton's parents. After the incident with his parents, Charlton lived for some time in a shelter in Seattle and with his ex-girlfriend. This ex-girlfriend told the police that she had known him for about a year and allowed him to keep some things at her house. She also confirmed that he had problems with alcohol and became aggressive when drunk. However, she noted that he had never physically abused her. It was during this period, from March to April, that Charlton began dating Ingrid after meeting through an online dating site. As a result of all the hearings, Charlton was sentenced to 27 years and 9 months in prison, which was the maximum term the judge could impose within the state's sentencing guidelines. Judge Julie Spector, who heard the case in King County Superior Court, told Charlton that if she had the option, she would have sentenced him to life in prison. She said, "What you did was cruel and inhuman beyond understanding." At the sentencing hearing, Charlton addressed the court and Ingrid's family saying, I agree that there are no words that could ease the pain I have caused. For this, I am truly sorry." Ingrid's mother was outraged by the sentence, considering it too lenient. She emphasized that the criminal not only killed her daughter, but also raped her, dismembered her body, and threw the parts in different trash bins, as if Ingrid was nobody. Philip, Ingrid's ex-husband, reminded the court that they had lost not just a good person, but also a mother of 3 children who could not be replaced. The tragic events that unfolded after the date shocked not only Ingrid's family and friends, but the entire community. The brutal murder of a young mother of 3 children caused widespread public resonance. At a memorial service for Ingrid, organized on April 12th, her friend Jim Morrell described her as a smart woman with a sharp sense of humor, an excellent mother, and a loyal friend. "We are all suffering," he said, urging those gathered to support her family, especially her 3 young daughters, in the days, months, and years to come. Ingrid's neighbor Marty Webster expressed the general mood of those gathered. Justice for Ingrid. No one deserves this, no one. Although the guilty plea spared the victim's family from the horror of having to sit through a trial day after day, listening to agonizing details about what happened to their loved one, the horror of the murder always remains in their consciousness. The tragedy of Ingrid Lyne sparked a wave of sympathy and support in society. A woman from Renton, whose children attended the same school as Ingrid's daughters, created a GoFundMe page to raise funds in support of the orphaned girls. Many helped spread the word in search of this mother, and now the worst has happened, wrote Melissa Corda, the fundraiser organizer. Ingrid left behind many who loved her, but most importantly, her 3 daughters are left without a mother. It's painful to think about the path this family will have to walk. By the evening of April 13, 2016, the amount of donations exceeded $105,000, and by the time the campaign ended, it had reached over $270,000. Thank you for watching this video. Write your opinion in the comments, and also do not forget to put a like if you like this story. Take care of yourself and your loved ones.